What's up, everybody? How are you all doing? Welcome to another Age of Empires 4 game review. I have one of my games today, played on the Byzantine in teal against the Japanese in purple. This game had some very specific learnings for me that I would like to share with all of you. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the game. Now, I always start my games thinking about, first of all, what does my opponent want to do typically? What are the things that I need to look for? What do I expect coming from the Japanese? And then how am I going to react to that? So, as a Japanese player myself, I expected for this gentleman to go fast castle, just because if you play the Japanese, you know that they are relatively weak in the feudal age. They typically like to get up to castle as quickly as possible, where they get access to their mounted samurai, some of the strongest knights in the game. So I was going to counter that with a fast castle of my own, thinking that, you know what, I'm going to be able to get some units out on the way up to castle using mercenaries, which won't slow my castle timing at all, and then have a strong push into castle where I can contest some of the relics. I know that if he goes fast castle, he's surely going to get two, maybe three of them, but maybe I can get two or three as well. The game ends up going in a very interesting direction, though, where basically one of those things happens, but the other thing doesn't, and it results in a very interesting game. I will go ahead and speed up during this early part of the game, just because not a whole lot happens during the early part of the game. If you have seen my Byzantines guide, you know that one of the features of Byzantines against other fast castle civs is that they do not need these sheep at all. So all of the sheep that you gather off of the map are simply denying your opponent from them, because the Byzantines only really gather the sheep when they get completely pushed off of berries or outside food sources. Otherwise, they want to gather berries. I have a couple of berries over here. This map ends up being very good for Byzantines just because of how many berries there are around the map, usually close to your base. So, we get into feudal age, and here's where things kind of start to get interesting. I get my cisterns up. I end up going mercenary house. One of the first things that I want to talk about in this game, I end up scouting him as soon as he's in feudal age, and it does not appear to me that he's fast castling. I see already he doesn't have a ton on gold yet, but I figured I would come check again in a little bit and see if that changes. He's got a bunch out on food over here, and I haven't seen where his scout has gone. But one thing that I realized after this game was over is that this cistern is very exposed. One thing that I should have done differently here is this cistern was completely unnecessary, and it's forward in the base, which means this is actually a place that's really easy to attack. I should have put it back here and then connected it backward so that I could then wall some stuff off and make it so that this would have been completely protected. All of my production would have been back here where it's not easy to hit if I get attacked at any point. Doesn't end up being a huge point of contention in this game, but it should have been. It easily could be in my next game. So if you play the Byzantines yourself, just remember, as you're placing your cisterns, you want to think about where you are going to be vulnerable, where your opponent can attack you, so that you don't leave yourself open to attack like I did in this game. So I very quickly was paying attention to what this guy was doing and trying to scout him. Often I'll end up heading back over to his base, and I actually end up seeing that he has these production buildings that he's kind of walling himself off, and once again, that he's not super heavy on gold, which then tells me that he's not going fast castle. So I had already committed to going fast castle here, and I had taken the Western mercenary contract. I'm going to be going longbows, just because I wanted to be able to get into Landsknecht in the castle age and have some longbowmen myself, which do very well against Yumi Ashigaru. When I play Japanese, I like to go mounted samurai into Yumi Ashigaru and then add in samurai later. And so I kind of anticipated that he might do something similar, which is why it's very important to continuously scout your opponent so that you can see what they're doing, because you never really want to be guessing what type of strategy they're using. You want to stay on top of what is actually going on in your games. So I saw here that he was building these buildings. I saw that he was going production, an archery range, and a barracks, and I knew that units were going to be coming out, and that he was going to be playing in feudal. This completely caught me off guard. I ended up pivoting a little bit just to prep for it, but it completely caught me off guard because I have never really had anybody do this against me, and I don't play this style as the Japanese myself. So I was not at all prepared for this. I most certainly would not have castle rushed if I had known. Nonetheless, I am on the road to castle already. It's before 8 minutes, and I'm already aging up with 8 villagers. I have a couple of longbows ready, and I am going to be adding in some man-at-arms Varangian guards once I get up to castle. So I end up running forward, and I see that he's already starting to build some units, and it causes me to immediately back up as soon as I see these units. And I'm now preparing to get attacked. So not something that I'm used to when it comes to playing against the Japanese. I am used to having a pretty early start, or a pretty easy start to the game, where the Japanese kind of just let you do their own thing because they want to do their own thing. And the idea is that they're going to get out on the map, collect some relics, get their samurai out, take map control before they actually push onto your base. So I wasn't playing super defensively here. I wasn't really worried about getting attacked, but I'm now safely in castle. I know that he's building military units, and so I'm just going to start prepping my army to defend against an attack. Simultaneously, I am prepping my second food source. So you'll see here, I actually finished up my berries, and then whenever I castle rush, I just queue all of my villagers to come back to the sheep as soon as the berries run out, and then I look for my second food source. So that's what's happening here. I'm gonna get a mill out, and now I start to go ahead and defend up my base. Meanwhile, I am just going to pump longbows, Lemetne, and Varangian guards, and prepare for the attack that I saw was coming. And I probably could have been a little bit more proactive about using my scout. I did see what he was doing, so I had a good concept of what was going on. And I left my scout here just to make sure that whenever the attack did come, I would know before it got to the front of my base. I probably could have done a little bit better with like patrolling this back and forth and just giving me a little bit better notice, but I'm not upset with this. I used my scout early, got the information that I needed. As of now, he is actually fully committing into this feudal attack, though, rather than going up to castle. He did put a couple more villagers on gold, but it looks like he's using that to get his military upgrades. Meanwhile, I have no military upgrades, but I have my eco upgrades. And I'm just out on the map collecting the relics. I first took the relic that was over on this side. I'm going to end up coming out here. I think I end up coming out here, and I end up getting 2 or 3 relics before any fight happens. And then he starts pushing forward to try and deny this relic here. I did not have any notice that he was actually here yet. This is right outside my scout's vision. I think I see something like right here, but this is just outside of vision, so I don't know that that's happening. But you'll see I am rallying to the front of my base. I mismicroed here just a little bit. Ended up building a stable. I was not trying to build a stable at all. I was actually trying to build a barracks in this scenario. I wanted to have 3 barracks so I could just comfortably push out Varangian guards and Lemetne while continuing the production of longbows. And I think in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get a blacksmith up, start getting my blacksmith upgrades. Meanwhile, he is completely massing right outside of my base to come and attack me. I did not know that this attack was coming right now. I knew he was building army, and I was ready. I was waiting for this to come out, which is why I'm positioning right here like I am. But I didn't know that it was happening right this second. And so you'll see I'm kind of just securing this side of my base. I have a good bunch of berries here. I'm going to go ahead and get another cistern up that's going to be on all of these berries as well as here. Maybe some production will go out here later on. I'm heavy on gold so that I can prepare to get my upgrades. I have second gold out here that I'm going to be moving out on afterward. And then I'm just making sure that he can't just walk in through the side of my base with some of these walls. So far in the game, I'm actually very happy with what happened here. One thing that I'm kind of adjusting to as I'm learning more and more is getting to the point where I can effectively react and understanding what the opponent is doing so that I can make the appropriate response, which I do not make the appropriate response here. And when we get to it in just a minute, I'm going to explain exactly what I think that I did wrong here and what I would do very differently in the next game. Once again, I don't see that this is happening, so he's already got up 2 battering rams, and he is going to end up going to 4 battering rams. And so I end up taking my scout, and I'm thinking to myself, nothing's happened in a couple of minutes, but I know he was building military, so I want to go find out what is going on. So I'm going to end up sending my scout toward his base. I catch a bunch of these units streaming out toward this way, which happens right now. And so I think, okay, he is attacking me right now. And I need to be completely aware of that. So you'll see, I see the units, I back up, and I end up running close enough to the stream of units that I actually see 2 of these battering rams. So here's where the massive mistake gets made. I end up taking all of my units and running out toward him. Now my thought is, I'm in castle, he's in feudal, so he might have more units than I do, but I'm going to have higher quality units. I made the mistake of not having gotten my blacksmith upgrades. So my units, the Varangian guards are great, but everything is feudal as far as the upgrades is concerned, so I should not be taking this fight at all. One thing that I learned from this game that I would also like to share with all of you is anytime you find battering rams out in the field, battering rams have one purpose, and that is to destroy buildings. They do not do anything else, which means when you see them out in the field, you know that they have to come toward your base. That gives you time to back up and control where the fight happens. I did not need to take this fight here and end up massively losing a fight where I go negative 1,000 in destroyed value. I could have backed up, taken this fight right underneath my town center, sent some of my villagers in, the town center would be protecting, and more importantly, he would be much farther from reinforcements, and I would be very close to reinforcements. This would have been a much better fight if I had just taken it closer to my base in the first place. But I ended up taking a very bad fight. And so now he is attacking my base. He's going to deal some damage here. This game was a very good a very good exercise in defending, because I do end up winning this game, and it's kind of funny. He just goes all in under my town center, so he's taking everything, running it underneath. He is committing. He wants to destroy the Grand Winery. He's then going to try and destroy some more buildings. And just know that a lot of these attacks, they tend to fizzle out because he's committing with his entire military here. All of those resources, and he's in my base, which means he has to kill me here. If he does not win the game, then he just did a lot of damage and committed to a lot without ending the game, and if I have any units left over, he's going to be in some real trouble, which is exactly what ends up happening. I end up keeping the majority of my longbows alive. They then clean everything up. I push out. I get a couple of villagers repairing the Grand Winery, and I make a counter push. Just to backtrack a little bit, he had 4 of these rams. One thing to note is when you have rams and you're going to push, you don't need to end the game on the spot. What he could have done that would have done some real damage to me is brought the rams over here where they're not being hit by the town center and destroyed all of these production buildings, destroyed the aqueduct, destroyed everything in this area, and I would have been in some deep trouble. But because he just ran everything in and lost them, I ended up winning this fight. Now I'm ahead in destroyed value. I'm now going to push out toward his base, and I know he just committed everything, so it's unlikely that he has a lot of military at this time, and I still have some of the best feudal age units in the game, which I'm playing against a feudal opponent. So these longbows end up just completely destroying him here and wiping out the rest of his army, and I am now ready to push into his base. So the game actually ends up ending right here. But it was just, I felt that this was a very good indicator of how to play defensively. Number one, to use your army. If you have walls up, get walls up. Make it so they can't just run in wherever they want to. So use the walls specifically to secure resources, not just to keep them out, but to make it so that as you expand, your economy grows and you're getting value from it. And then on top of that, you can then use your army to secure places on the map where the enemy can attack. So send your army to the open areas. You see I have walls here, I have walls here. So this is really the only place that he can just walk in and deal damage, which means if my army is here, he can't even do that. But again, some learning. Put your production in the back of your base. Send it, back here where the gold was, where it's not easily attacked. And then take the fights when you're playing defensively closer to the chest. Take it closer to your town center. Make them come to you and fight, so that you don't end up losing a fight that you have no business losing. Because I should not have lost that initial fight, which very easily could have led to me losing the game. But because I was able to defend, because I microed my archers and backed them up so far under town center that they were then one-shotting all of the units that were coming at them, I then was able to make a counter push, and that's how the game ends. So I hope you appreciated this. I hope you learned something from it. I sure did. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thank you.